Hi, everybody. Welcome to Country Club. My name is Mr. Steve, but I think you already know that. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but we do want to talk together about China. That's the country this week. So first of all, instead of using our globe, we're going to use a map. So let me just share my screen with you, and then you can get a map of China. So China's in the red right here. So it's a pretty big country. China has over 2 billion people living in it, which is a lot. That's about 7 times as many people that live in the United States live in China. So keeping in mind where China is, we are way over here. That's where we are here in Massachusetts. And so China is really far away. If it was a globe, you would see that, of course, on the circle, we'd be able to go this way across the Pacific Ocean to get to China. And before we go on, I just wanted to show you some of the other countries that we talked about. We started off with the country that's right near China. Japan is right over here. So it's much smaller than China. And then we went to Australia, which is down here. After that, we were into France, which is right here. And then after France, we went to, I believe it was Iceland, which is right here. And then Brazil is right there. And we talked about Ethiopia too. This is Ethiopia. Remember, what we learned about Ethiopia is it's the most people in a country that is landlocked. So if you look really, really close, there's a country right here. So no part of Ethiopia is bordering on any ocean. So it's landlocked. We also talked about Ukraine, which is right over here. And now we are talking about China. So I'm going to stop my sharing and we're going to get started. We're going to start off by reading a story called The Story of Chopsticks. It's by Ying Cheng Kompenstein, and then Yongsheng Zhuan is the illustrator. Both of this author and illustrator lived in China and they grew up there, and then they moved to the United States where they live now. And the author got this idea about the story from watching her son. So this is not a classical old folktale, but chopsticks are something that is very well used in China. So I thought this would be a fun story to read. Long ago, all Chinese people ate with their hands, including members of a family named Kong. The Kong family had 3 boys, Pan, Ting, and Kwa. All the boys loved to eat, especially the youngest, Kwai. Yet Kwai never seemed to get enough food. He was always hungry. I'm sure some of you can relate. I know I can. One morning, Mama Kang called out, "It's time to get ready for dinner. Papa, cut the chicken. Pan, peel the sweet potatoes. Ting, start the fire. And Kwai, get water from the well." Wonderful smells soon filled the house. Kwai's tummy rumbled. If only I could eat my food right away, he thought. But if I pick it up too soon, it burns my fingers. And if I wait too long, my brothers get most of it and leave me nothing. He thought and thought and thought and thought. "Time for dinner. Everybody wash your hands," said Mama. They all ran to the well. Pan brought the bucket. Ting lowered it. Papa hauled it up. Kwai waited. "I'm going to be first," he said. "You don't have to rush," said Mama. "The food is still too hot to eat." Kwai said nothing, but his lips held a smile. As he washed, he splashed water all over. "Kwai," scolded Papa, "look at the mess you made. The bucket is nearly empty. Ting, help me refill it." While they got more water, Kwai ran back to the house. Kwai plucked 2 long twigs from the kindling by the stove and speared a chicken leg with one stick and a big chunk of sweet potato with the other. Then he started to eat. The food was still hot, yet he didn't burn his fingers. Best of all, he didn't have to race his older brothers. For once, he was going to get enough to eat. When his family finally returned from the well, they were surprised. Ting understood immediately. He ran to the kindling and got himself 2 long twigs. Pan and Papa were right behind him. In a moment, they were climbing over each other, wrestling for twigs. "Ayo!" they cried. Kwai never stopped eating. After a while, things settled down. Everyone had a pair of twigs, even Mama. "We should give these twigs a name," said Pan. "Yeah, let's call them Kwaiza, to honor Kwai, the quick one, in our family," said Ting. Kwai smiled at his brother. This was the first time that a family in China ate with sticks instead of their hands. A few days later, Mama came home very excited. "Mr. Wang is holding a wedding for his daughter. It will be a big banquet. Everyone is invited." On the day of the wedding, Papa carried a bundle of red silk, a symbol of celebration. Mama carried a basket of fruits and nuts, a symbol of their wish that the couple would soon have many children. Unknown to anyone else, the boys brought something too. When they arrived, Kwai led his brothers to join the other children. "Look at the food. I never saw a table as big as this one." Tang grinned. "See the steam rising from that fish? It smells so good. It'll be a long time before anybody can pick it up." Pan whispered to his brothers, "See those girls rolling up their sleeves? They don't want their clothes to get dirty." The children stared at the food like starved wolves. Servants carried out more meat and vegetable dishes. Dumplings, egg rolls, and rice cakes soon followed. All the children moved in closer, ready to strike. Kwai looked at his brothers. "Let's go!" The Kang boys whipped out their sticks and attacked the butterfly chicken, wealthy peony beef, steamed buns, rice cakes, and especially the sweet 8 treasures rice pudding. The other children stared at them. Some tried to grab food for themselves. "Ayo!" they yelped. "It's too hot." The smart ones ran off to find their own sticks. Before long, all the children were searching for sticks. Some even climbed trees to break off the branches. "What is all this noise?" said Mr. Wang. Soon all the grown-ups were gathered around the banquet table, even the bride and groom. Children held all kinds of sticks. A tall boy held 2 large branches. A toddler carried tiny twigs. Some children had their arms full. Papa opened his mouth to scold the boys. When he did, Kwai put a big piece of meat in his mouth. "Try the chicken," he cried. Now Papa was too busy chewing to yell at them. But Mama wasn't too busy. "Boys," she cried, "boys!" Papa put a big piece of rice cake in her mouth. Now Mama couldn't scold either. Mr. Wang looked sternly at the running children. He glowered at Papa and Mama, who were chewing away. "Ayo!" he cried. A hush fell over the crowd. Mr. Wang turned red. He began to shake. He was laughing. So was everyone else. Mr. Li, the village wise man, stepped forward. He looked very serious. After he raised his hands for attention, the crowd fell silent. Mr. Li pointed at the children's sticks. "Whose idea was this?" he said. The boys looked at one another. Pan stepped forward. "It was my idea. Don't blame my brother." Ting bowed carefully to Mr. Li. "No, it was my idea. Please don't blame my brother." Papa walked over to Mr. Li. "It's my fault, Mr. Li. We did not teach our children manners. Please." Mr. Li gestured for silence. "I must meet with the village leaders tomorrow morning. Your whole family shall attend." Early the next morning, Mr. Li met with the scholar, the doctor, the matchmaker, and the Kang family. He looked at the Kang boys. "Tell me, who had the idea for the sticks?" Kwai timidly raised his hands. "How did you come up with this idea?" "I didn't want to wait for food to cool because I was always hungry, and I wanted to eat before my brothers because there was never enough food left for me." Mr. Li frowned. "Do these sticks have a name?" "Yeah, we call them Kwai Za, quick ones," said Ting. Mr. Li turned to the other elders. "I would like your suggestions for the proper way to eat." The doctor said, We should let our elders begin the meal. The matchmaker said, we should not stir food in serving bowls. And the scholar said, the food should be cut into small pieces so that it's easy to eat. Then he added, what should we do about these kwaiza? Mr. Lee smoothed out his long white beard. None of these rules conflict with using kwaiza to eat. After much thought, I say that eating with kwaiza is a good idea. I will write a report and send it to the emperor. The emperor liked eating with kwaiza. Before long, people were using them in every part of China. From there, kwaiza spread to other countries, including America. There, they are just called chopsticks, which is quick sticks. As for the Kang family, they opened the very first chopstick factory. Their chopsticks, beautifully decorated with dragons, phoenixes, flowers, and lucky letters, became famous. Kwai was the happiest boy in China. His food was never too cold, and he always got enough to eat. Sometimes, even too much. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit of information. I'm going to read to you just a little bit from the back. It says that chopsticks originated in China maybe as early as the 11th century BCE. They are called kwaiza in Mandarin Chinese, which translates to quick ones. So the chopsticks, quick ones. In the English used by Chinese and European traders of old, chop meant quick. Hence, quick sticks became chopsticks. And also, they do have lots of rules for eating in China, so I'm just going to read you a couple of them. We heard some in the book. The meal should not start until the oldest person at the table raises his chopsticks. Chopsticks should not stand upright in a bowl of rice. This looks too much like a tombstone on a grave. And chopsticks should not be set lengthwise across the rice bowl. This is considered symbolic of a coffin. Instead, they should be placed on a chopstick stand to the right of the bowl, resting the tips on the stand. And chopsticks should not be rattled against the bowl. It's believed this will break the wealth of future generations. And that was the story of chopsticks. Have you ever used chopsticks before? I have. I'm not really good at them, to be honest with you, but I've used them. All right, so we have 3 more things that we're going to do. We're going to watch a short video about China. It's 4 minutes long, and it's a song about China, and it shows you lots of different things to see over there. So I want to show you that in a minute. After that, we're going to come back and talk about a little bit of a game that we can play through the computer, and you can play at home too. And then the third and final thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a craft together. So let's get ready to watch that video. Okay. It goes like this.
For Shanghai and Beijing, for the Great Wall still standing, oh, for China, I will sing. The precipitous pillars of the Wulingyuan National Park, and the 9-village valley with its multicolored mountain lakes. The Tiger Leaping Gorge at Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, the Guilin River and the epic karst landscape.
See the Chinese flag down here?
For Shanghai and Beijing, for the Great Wall still standing, oh, for China, I will sing. Shanghai is the largest city in China with over 22 million residents. Beijing is the capital with over 11 million residents. Other very large cities in China include Tianjin, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen. Conifers, bamboo, rhododendrons, juniper, and yew, lychee, pears, pomelos, and peonies too. Asiatic black bear, gibbons, giant panda, and moose. snub-nosed monkeys, leopards, and mongoose. For Shanghai and Beijing, for the Great Wall still standing, oh, for China, I will sing. The national flower of China is the peony. The national bird is the red-crowned crane, and the national animal is the giant panda. Did you hear about the party at the Chinese zoo? It was pandemonium. Rice, wheat, and noodles with chopsticks, bok choy, broccoli, tofu, mushrooms, and after dinner dim sum and green tea. Jackie Chan and Song Kyan, Fan Bingbing, Ma Si Chan, table tennis, martial arts, pool, and badminton. For Shanghai and Beijing, for the Great Wall still standing, oh, for China, I will sing. The national game of China is table tennis. The official language is Standard Mandarin. China has the largest population in the world, 1.4 billion people.
I thought it was 2 billion.
The official unit of currency is the yuan, also referred to as the renminbi. Vincent Van and Jeju revived Guoyu music, pianist Lang Lang, dizzy gong, cymbals, and boat strings. And the Chinese New Year is celebrated every January. The Blue Dragon and Spirit Festivals are some of my favorite things. For Shanghai and Beijing, for the Great Wall still standing, oh, for China, I will sing. For Shanghai and Beijing, for the Great Wall still standing, oh, for China, I will sing.
Right. Well, let that be a lesson to me. I was going by my memory, thinking that China had 2 billion people. My memory was wrong. 1.4 billion, which is 1 out of every 5 people in the whole wide world lives in China. So that's pretty awesome. All right, so we're going to do a game right now called Throwing Fists. That's the English name. I'm not sure what it is in Chinese, but it's a really simple game, and you can play it with lots of people, but the more people you play it with, the more difficult it might be to play. So here's how it works. Let's say you're playing with 2 people. So you are going to play against me right now. We each have our fists. On the count of 3, we put our fists forward with a number of fingers out. It can be 0, it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5. We take turns guessing how many numbers of fingers we're going to be having between the 2 of us. Okay, so let's say that I'm the one guessing. All right, and we would go 1, 2, 3, and I would say 7. And then we would each put out a number, and if it adds up to 7, I'm right, and if it doesn't, I'm wrong. Okay, but the key is that we need to do timing, has to be right. So it goes 1, 2, 3, and if you're the person saying the number, you say the number right then. If you are not the person saying the number, you still put out your number of fingers at that point. So if you were playing with like 3 people, you would have to guess a number between 0 and 15, because all 3 people could put out a fist, all 3 people could put out a 5, and 5 times 3 is 15, or it could be any number within that. Does that make sense? All right, let's try it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, oh, wait a minute. I'll be the first one to guess. All right. 1, 2, 3, 7. All right, so if you have 4 fingers up with my 3, that would make 7. How many fingers do you have? Okay. All right, ready? It's your turn. So We're going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put out my fingers and then you guess the number that you think our fingers are going to add up to. Is this making sense? It's easier to tell you in person because you could ask questions, but I hope this makes sense. All right, ready? You're guessing the number this time. So it can be any number between 0 and 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So I have 0. So whatever number you put out would be the right number. So that's an easy game. You can play that with your family. It's a good math game too. So if you had like, let's say you had 6 people playing, what would be the highest number? Well, 6 times 5 is, okay, 30. Yep. And then 6 times 0, 0. What if you had 9 people playing? 9 times 5 is 45. Good. And 9 times 0 is 0. So if you had 9 people playing, it'd be 0 to 45. But that would be really confusing if there are 9 people playing. Anyhow, what we're going to do is we're going to make a Chinese paper lantern. That's our craft today. So in ancient China, lanterns were really used to provide light, and they were used for worship too. Nowadays, they're used for decoration mostly, and also they're used just for Chinese people to celebrate their heritage. And so it's also a way for us to celebrate China. I'm going to show you what my Chinese lantern looks like. You could use any color you want to. We do have extra paper here at the library that's red. So if you want to stop by, I sent an email and you can get a piece of paper, or you can just use paper from home. Cardstock does work the best. Here's what you do. It's really easy. You take a piece of paper and you start off and you just cut a strip from the bottom. So you're holding it the wide way, and then you cut a strip. This is the handle. And you have one and this. And the second thing you do is take your bigger piece and you fold it in half. So it's like this. You have the end that's open and the end that's folded. You want to take the end that's folded and you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut strips. When you cut the strips, though, you don't want to go all the way to the top because it's going to cut off. So just do a couple strips, just like that. And the further you are apart, the less you have to cut. And the closer you are, the more you have to cut. It's important to have them kind of in a similar spot. Okay. Now we have this. What we do at this point is we get out tape and we're going to fold it in half like that. Sorry. Okay. We're going to fold it in half like this. A long way. You have it like this now. And you just put a little tape on both ends. I'll show you in a second what I mean. You put a little tape on both ends like that because you're going to be combining these. And one end goes in the top there, and the other end goes like that. See how it is? So it looks like that, and then you just take your other piece that you cut off and make it into your handle. So put a little tape on it here. do the same thing on the other side. And there it is. So have fun with that. That's all for today's country club. Thanks for watching, everybody. We have one more country club of this session, and we're going to be talking about Norway. So hope to see you then. Bye.